This is the Pipkin and Turnbull Show. It is September 24th, 2020. We have a lot to talk about in today's episode. We got a lot of things going on. We got NBA, NFL, college football. It is all happening, and it is good. Uh, Sports to be a sports fan once again because we have stuff to
Yes.
talk about. So that's the number one thing when you're trying to do a talk show is to have stuff to talk about. So, forewarning, uh, Jamie and I have companions always in the background with us. On my end, you may hear a baby. On his end, you may hear some chihuahuas. Ignore it, and we'll keep
Yes.
moving forward. So, we're excited to talk to you all today. Just sit back, relax. Let's have some conversations. Disagree with us, love us, no matter what. Always agree with Team
Mm.
Pipkin over Team Bull, and you'll be all good shape. Jamie, what's our rundown for today?
All right. Today we have the NBA. Take a look at the Final Four teams, and then we'll preview the LA and Denver game tonight. Then we're gonna look at the SEC football. Finally, man, college football is back in full swing. We got the Big Ten starting next month, but the SEC is back this weekend. So we're gonna take a look at them. And then we're gonna how we did it last week. We're gonna take a look at the best and worst things we saw in sports this past weekend. So with that, man, what did you think of the Heat and the Boston game last night?
Yeah, this whole series has been very interesting to me because um, I I honestly feel without some second half heroics that we've seen from the 3-1 now Heat that it should almost be reversed. You know, the way that the Celtics always seem to open the game, always seem to get up a lead. And then there's always the one guy who's bringing them back, and the Heat always find an answer. And last night, it was the hero himself, Tyler Hero, with a
Mm-hmm.
rookie record 37 points. That's a Heat record in the playoffs, or I think Heat
Yes.
total maybe for a rookie scoring. So D,
My understanding, it was a total
yeah,
in the
that
NBA.
was D Wade's old record. And just watching um, some of the things that Hero was doing, that is a piece that is desperately needed on this Heat team. And he's been
Yep.
consistently doing it throughout these playoffs. Uh,
Mm.
I think it's more what's shocking is the Celtics play. I mean, um, just I think just based on the statistics, box score, um, the story is really weird with this team because like last night, once again, you had Boston in the first quarter. They're 31-28, and then they outscore them again by a huge margin, 29-19 in the second quarter. But then you see that second half and that third quarter is where everything turned for them. And so um I, it's so funny that we have Miami and the Denver Nuggets in the same conversation where we have them in the Eastern and Western Conference because I can't figure out, you know, um, besides that the they are the teams most prepared when they've come into the bubble. The Heat look like they were the most prepared. Denver the same way. Um, the thing is with Boston, just the talent and just the ways that they start games, not necessarily how they finish. Definitely not how they finish them. I, it's very well that you could see Boston bringing this back, but we've been besides the doubt for the Heat have been there, and so um, I I can't pull. I can't say Boston is definitely out of this yet, just
No.
because of every all the pieces they have. And that's what's shocking to me is um, that they can't keep this going at a full game's pace. Meaning the scoring, right? Meaning outscoring the
Mm.
Heat, because to me Boston is way, I think, have a deeper bench, have a more talented starting five, talent wise. But when you get down to the nitty gritty of playing and playing to the end of the game, the Heat have totally worn out teams because
Yeah.
they don't quit playing until the end of the fourth quarter. And that's just to
Mm.
me how great Eric Spoelstra is as a coach.
Yes.
Definitely the best coach left standing out of the four teams. This is a very disciplined coach team that will fight until the very end of the fourth quarter. And that's how they may
Mm.
find themselves into the NBA Finals. And at this point, I can't, I'm definitely saying the Heat will be in. It's not necessarily over, but Eric Spoelstra, like, kudos to them and the Pat Riley and all of them. But Eric Spoelstra has had this team going. Besides losing one, and but the funny thing is, when the Heat lose one game, it's like disaster and everything is about to happen. They're about to lose the series, but they come back and like we're at a 3-1 lead. So uh
Yeah.
Jaya, my baby, is definitely agreeing or disagreeing with what I'm saying. So, but yeah, those were kind of my initial thoughts when I was looking at this matchup.
Yeah, the Heat, man, as a Heat fan, I can't be more excited right now just because of what they're doing this year, but what they have going for them in the future. It's a young team, and they got some like veterans in there, but I mean, your core is Hero, Nunn, Duncan Robinson, Bam. You've got that core there, and I don't think this is gonna be like a 1 year thing where they're just gonna like shock everybody this year. I think this is gonna be a normal for this team going forward. And so I'm just really excited. But yeah, like I would say Boston probably has, as of right now, the better roster. But the Heat just they don't like you said, they'll wear you out, and they just keep hitting you. Like they were missing threes last night, which is not normal for them, but they'll just keep doing it, and they'll keep doing it, and they'll keep doing it. And it's part of the thing about Miami is it's called Heat culture, man, where it's just like team, and they are not about eyes, they're about the team. And their workout and they're just everything about them is just different. And I just love it. I love being a fan of this team because nobody except me was saying they were going to be there. And um, it's a great feeling. We haven't felt this since Braun left. But I'm looking forward to it. I don't Boston's not out of it. I mean, we saw Denver come back from being down 3-1. So um Boston's definitely not out of it. I could see them winning the next one. But it's really fun. Just how close Miami is and just how ready they were for this. It's just it's great to watch, and it's just great to be a fan of that team right now. So
Yeah, what I love about what's happening, what I see kind of happening in Denver and the Heat, um, and and definitely the Heat and Denver have their own stars, but not to the level to where I feel like Boston or the Lakers have their stars. Um,
yeah.
we're saying great team basketball, and I think for me that
Mhm.
excites me to no end when we see team. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
was exciting about whether or not you like it or not. Me bringing up the San Antonio Spurs, but that's
Ah.
the reason that I personally loved it. It was team basketball that beat
Mm.
superstar talented teams,
Yeah.
and we're seeing that being played out, and that's the reason you can't rule this Heat team out. The closest thing that I can remember this Heat team acting like is the Chauncey Billups Piston teams, where you
Yeah.
got Ben Wallace, you got Rick Hamilton, just a
Mhm.
solid team. And team
Yeah.
basketball is what put them over the top. And the other thing I'm thinking about is Dragic. I've never seen him play this well.
Yeah.
Any time for the Heat, and maybe it was just the refocused style of play, but he looks like totally like worth everything that they paid for him a few 4 or 5 years ago. And he's starting
Yeah, we
to.
went his first home game with Miami. We were
Yes,
there.
yeah, we were there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. They just
for
traded for him, and
Philly.
we went to that
Yeah,
game.
but now I mean
Yep.
it's he's really starting to come out and show out like he was worth all that, and he's played.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, he's been their most consistent player. I see
Yes.
I see the heroics each game, but throughout every series, I think he's been most consistent. No matter what, they can turn to him. Jimmy to me is kind of an up and down, but he's always been like that. But he's always out hustled everybody. That's why we like Jimmy.
Yeah.
But Dragic is just his offensive presence has been what the Heat has needed over all these series. So, great game tonight as well. We'll definitely be looking at Los Angeles and Denver. Denver was able to
Mm-hmm.
put up a game and make this a 2-1 series. It can almost be even a 2-2 series if or actually 2-1 Denver way if AD doesn't hit that shot. So Denver is very
Yeah.
much in this and is still shocking the league. Um, but as much as I'd like to pick Denver in this series, I still think LA just with it's just when the King and AD are on, it's a hard combo to beat, man. It's tough to beat.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's Denver, man, they're scrappy. That's one thing I like about them, and I've really enjoyed watching them in these playoffs. Is they're just so scrappy and they're good, and there's it's a good all around. I almost said football team, basketball team. Um, we talk a lot of football, but no, basketball. It's just I've really like I haven't watched a whole bunch of them outside of the playoffs. But in the playoffs, like I remember when the bubble first started, and I was watching the Denver play, and I remember uh, talking to a coworker of mine, just like, man, that Denver team's like really good. Like I don't know how far they'll go in the playoffs, but they're really good, and now they're in the conference finals, and it's really cool just seeing them because LA is the juggernaut. They're the be all when it comes to the playoffs this year, and for Denver to just be kind of like standing up to them and trading it back and forth and getting a win in the series. And yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pick Denver to even beat the Lakers. I'm throwing my hat in that ring right now because I think they're gonna go on a roll, and just they're gonna be in the finals. I have a really good feeling about them, and um, it's crazy to even to say just that they're going to beat LA, but I can see it, man. It's just great. I love it.
yeah.
We're having good basketball.
I think what's key to them is I've my only fear with Denver is I think they need some of their other pieces like a Mike Connolly to start
Yeah.
stepping in there. And they paid him a lot for he's not really showing up right now, or haven't been in these past couple series. I think they're gonna need some more of that than just um, the Joker and Murray having to carry this team forward. They're going to definitely need some help in some of their other bigger pieces to keep moving this team forward to do that.
Yeah.
But this team likes going down 3-1 and then coming back and winning it. So Lakers may win, but they may be 3-1, and
Yeah.
Denver comes straight back and wins another series in Game 7.
Yeah.
That's a big possibility. So very interesting NBA finals. Nobody could have predicted if Denver does end up winning and the Heat do end up winning that it would be Denver Heat in the NBA finals. But
That's crazy.
it's definitely even just saying the Heat to me is you know, but team team basketball. That's what's been carrying them forward.
Yeah.
All right, so moving
Yeah.
on. NCAA football. It's been going on the past couple of weeks, but the best league is starting their play this Saturday, which is SEC football. Real college football is
Oh
starting
my gosh.
this Saturday. We've been seeing some other conferences give us, what their look is at college football. But this Saturday, we have some great matchups starting. Um, one in particular that I'll be looking at is the Auburn Kentucky game. Both ranked teams. Kentucky
Mm,
figuring out who their quarterback, and that's the thing with the SEC. All these teams are figuring out like their offense still, who's their quarterback,
yeah.
and so that's what makes the SEC really interesting. There's a lot of unknown variables at this point for the SEC. Um, as the oddest thing is, Mac Jones, the quarterback who will be starting for Alabama, with his 2 games starting is one of the older quarterbacks because all these guys this is going to be their first starts on Saturday. Besides
Yeah.
the Florida quarterback, and I'm trying to remember his name, but he had a couple games last week or last season. Um,
Yeah.
Another interesting quarterback transfer is uh, Felipe Franks. No, I said that wrong. Is now the quarterback for Arkansas. Used to be the quarterback for Florida. Now has made his transition to Arkansas. So that'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But I'm just excited for Saturday. I am.
Yes.
I've been loving seeing the little bits of college football that we have been seeing. Um, I tuned into some of the Miami Louisville, and Louisville's defense. My goodness, yes, that was horrible. I mean, the Miami players were wide open, but they had nobody covering. Uh,
Yeah.
so that's been kind of the biggest matchup so far is Miami Louisville, and just excited just to see. The other thing that excites me is that each week that it'll just be an all SEC schedule, and I'm like, man, I
Yeah.
wish that was every year. All every year just playing SEC schools. I love it. I love it. And so, uh, Alabama will be facing Missouri this weekend.
Should be an easy win.
Well, hey, it's the SEC, man. You never know. You never know. Um, it'll be interesting. I think another interesting matchup just to see where these teams are at in the SEC, just schedule wise, will be Tennessee and South Carolina. These two teams are always kind of hyped up before the season, and then we'll actually get to see what they are really like when they face
Yeah.
off each other. So I'm excited to see that matchup as well on Saturday. Uh, we heard some news today that Notre Dame will be postponing their game against Wake Forest because of a COVID outbreak. Um, some other news, Jamie, you've kind of mentioned it, but Big Ten football will start in October, but the Pac
Yes.
12 are still in decision sometime this week or even today. I've heard that they will get a definite yes or no from the Pac 12 whether or not they are playing. Um,
Hmm.
my question is, the deadline to trying to get the college football playoff set is December 20th. Um,
Yeah.
and what's going to be difficult is justifying, you know, um, who gets into that, because if you start that, if the Big Ten starts so late and they have outbreaks, can they actually finish? And so if a team like Ohio State doesn't actually finish their schedule, but they're still ranked high, do they get into the playoffs? Like those are the interesting questions that we'll be seeing. If you didn't play your game, does that count as a loss? What does that affect you? And so
Yeah.
um, Jamie, any of your thoughts about? I know I've been holding up this whole entire conversation so far because I'm
No,
so
man.
excited. So excited for this
You're the
Saturday.
SEC guy. My team's in the ACC.
Hey, I talked about
But
them. I talked about
you
how
did, you
how
did.
bad that Louisville defense. It was so funny. It was
Yeah.
hilariously bad sometimes. It was really
Quick
bad.
plug: Miami is again on primetime Saturday night against the FSU, and we are going to beat them down really bad. But back to the SEC. Um, it I'm just so excited for college football just being back in full swing. But to your comment about the Big Ten and will, like, if they don't play all their games and all that, um I it's hard because it's not that team's fault. It's the conference's fault that they started when they did. Um and if they are the best team, I think they should still be able to play in the national championship or get a bowl bid and all that stuff. But at the same time, if you're a football team that's been going since day one, then you should be put into that consideration to make that jump over these teams that are getting a late start. But it always just comes down to, if you're the best team, you deserve to be where you're at. So it's really hard, and it's going to be interesting once bowl season comes. What teams are in and what teams are out, and how much the record kind of goes into it.
Yeah, or if we're even
Um,
gonna have, I haven't. I need to figure out the whole bowl season. I haven't really read too much into
yeah.
that. I've just read into the when they plan on picking the college teams. But here's where it comes into play. Like if you have a because SEC is going to be playing 10 games, I believe, and I think teams are planning on playing 10. I'd have to get a confirmation on that, but my understanding was, I can look up a schedule, but my understanding was that it was 10 games. So if you
Hmm.
have, let's say, um, Ohio State is only able um, to complete 8 games, and then you have a
Hmm.
9-1 SEC team, whether that be Georgia, like Auburn or Alabama, um,
Hmm.
and those are some of these deciding factors. Like, who are
Yeah.
you putting? Like those are huge questions to me because I don't know how you justify that. I guess you would only, you would look at the matchups, but at the same rate, even if it was post whatever it looked like, you still are trying to finish your season. So
Yeah.
uh, that's what's going to be interesting to me, because unfortunately, I do think we're going to see a lot more postponements. Because
Hmm.
and understandably, you see, like Notre Dame, they had 7 tests positive, but um, I just either that if they are strict on that deadline, then you're gonna have these conversations. Well, this team lost a game, but this team didn't play a game. Like those are the
Yeah.
conversation. Like that's what's gonna make this year so difficult if they don't allow time to extend that time. And so people are, from my understanding, it's very hard to move that December date just because you're you're right up against the NFL playoffs as well. But
Yes.
um,
Yeah.
and other college factors come into it as well. Some people, you've got to look at academic side. It's also hard to um, to get teams away, for such long periods
Yes.
and things like that. So academically, the academic schedule, it's also hard if you keep extending seasons out. So
Yeah.
um, very interesting. It'll be something I'm sure we'll be talking more and more about every week as we see probably more teams postpone and see how the NCAA and the different leagues kind of adjust for that. But meanwhile, if everything still goes to plan, we will be seeing SEC football this week. Some great
Yes.
games, great college football games to be watched this weekend. So the best and worst things that Mr. Turnbull and I saw from this week. So, Jamie, I'm going to let you lead us off with that conversation.
Man, all right. I'm starting out with the worst. Atlanta. That was. how do you lose that game? Like that just did not make sense to me. Especially to the Cowboys. Like how do you like one, how do you lose to the Cowboys? Because I mean they're overhyped and just not a very good football team right now. Still trying to figure things out under McCarthy. And I have different opinions about some of their players. But Atlanta just like, is this just like, this is what they do? Like they blew the lead in the Super Bowl and now they blow the lead in just a regular season game. Like what does Atlanta have to do, to be consistent? Because I just don't see them being consistent with and they've got the players there. That's just the most frustrating thing, is they have a good quarterback. They have probably the best wide receiver in the NFL. They have a good defense. Like it just don't make sense to me that they're 0-2 right now and they should be 1-1, and it didn't make sense at all. I was sitting there watching that game just dumbfounded, because how do you lose? And then your PAT, or not PAT, you kick the onside and you don't even know how to play the ball. Like it was a frustrating game, and I'm not even a fan of that team. I could care less, but they it's just frustrating that they're so good but so bad all at the same time. So that's my worst from last weekend.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The Falcons, just it's not un uncommon that we've seen this. We've seen them do this many times with the Falcons team,
Yes.
a team that blew a 28-0 lead in the Super Bowl. But
Mhm.
it's definitely like, I don't know, like they definitely play the first half, but they as years gone by, I've never seen them finish a game well.
Yeah.
Even when I watch Falcons game, I never see them finish it well. And I
Yeah.
think it's almost like you've got to reset the culture of that team. And the weird thing is they getting to the Super Bowl, and I'm trying to remember their coach's name. And honestly, I don't think he's such a bad coach. It's just this team doesn't know how to finish in the fourth quarter. Um,
Yeah.
and and honestly, going back and looking at their box score, I mean, you could definitely say they should be 2-0 right now. Um,
Yeah.
and and really, just with the pieces that they put together, like you said, there is no excuse that we can find with this Atlanta team. It's just that they cannot finish well. Um,
Yeah.
and and all the mistakes from Sunday. Granted, I've never seen like a onside kick look like that before. Really smart that it all worked out, but still, you gotta jump on that ball when you're right beside it. I mean,
Yes.
because
Did you not practice
yeah,
that?
I mean,
Did you not practice
even
that?
if yeah, even if it's not crossing the certain, like if you jump on it, it's still yours. So even if
Yes.
you still got to get on that onside, and many other reasons they should have won that game. But yeah, definitely don't know. It's something correctable. It's still the NFC South is still up for grabs. They've
Yeah.
just have to play four quarters. That's all I could really say from Atlanta so far, is they haven't figured out how to finish yet. So my worst of the weekend is the team doctor for the Chargers. uh, I I don't know how, I I'm not a doctor, but any chance of piercing a lung of one of the NFL quarterbacks, um, should keep your kind of guard up, and
Yeah.
uh, so that whole situation, I feel for Tyrod Taylor. So I guess the I would say the situation is the worst, because now you've got Hibbert, who played actually a really good game against the Chiefs. Um, and who
Mhm.
you have said now should be the starter. It's looking like he will
Yes.
start another game, and so distance himself further from Tyrod Taylor, who has his ups and downs, but it really isn't that bad of a quarterback. He's just it just always seems that something goes against his favor, and now it's a punctured lung from one of the team doctors. So that's that's one of my worst of the weekends. And just seeing, I just don't like. I don't know if I've ever heard of that happening. Like I don't know,
Yeah,
like
no, I
right
haven't.
before a game and he's in his shoulder and we're like, he has chest pains. Like, why does he have chest pains? Like I saw with the guard from Philadelphia, and I'm trying to remember his name. He had anxiety attacks and he went off the
Yes.
field. And they said the same thing. He had chest pains. So I looked at Tyrod and I was like, well, I never heard of him having this problem before, but he could be having
Yeah.
an anxiety attack, which is pretty normal. I mean, and yeah, but yeah, when I heard that he was stabbed in the lungs with a needle and he had a punctured lung from a doctor, I was like, oh my goodness, that
Yeah.
is terrible.
And
Um,
there's stuff coming out about this doctor now. Like he's got just a laundry list of just bad things in his favor, and it's just like, how is he employed? Like, how do the Chargers employ this guy? And so, yeah, that was definitely a bad thing this weekend.
yeah, he was dealing, and also Tyrod Taylor was dealing with broken ribs. That's why he was getting the
Yeah.
shot. So like, on top of that, he's got to deal with a punctured lung and some broken ribs now. Like that
Hmm.
that would be my worst. It's like because I've never seen or heard of a story like that, so that's why I would put it as
Oh.
my worst. And um, yeah. Uh, so uh, I think yeah, it's kind of like you said, you just got to look at your processes. And if the guy has a laundry list of not being a great doctor, you may want to check into getting a
Yeah.
different one. Anyways, but that was my worst. Jamie, your best of the weekend.
We'll keep it with the Chargers. The Chargers were the best thing I saw this weekend, man. They came to play. They took my Chiefs all four quarters and into a fifth one, and it was I was really surprised by them. That's a good young football team right there. They got a good quarterback. Um, they'd be they'd be dumb to bench him when Tyrod can come back. I think that's the guy you got to go with. And I understand where the Chargers are coming from. Like they wanted Justin to have a year to just kind of sit and learn, but he went up against the defending Super Bowl champions and threw two touchdowns and ran for one. Or he threw a touchdown and ran for one. Either way, he had a good game. Couple quarterback or couple rookie mistakes like that pick where he was thrown across his body. That that can be corrected. You can definitely coach that. But man, on defense, like that defensive front for the Chargers, I think is probably one of the best in the NFL. Period. They kept Mahomes just like, and Mahomes eventually learned, and he took the throws he could take, and he ran when he had to run, and instead of sitting in the pocket, just waiting to get hit. But that Chargers team, man, that's a team I could see them. Um, I mean, I don't know if the Chiefs can beat them again. That's the thing, but I can definitely see them making the playoffs. Maybe not winning the division yet, but that's a playoff team for sure. I really enjoyed watching them play last weekend, and I'll definitely be tuning in to more games of theirs. As long as they can stay healthy and stay competitive. Like that's a good football team in LA. Definitely a good football team.
Yeah. Yeah, the best thing I saw from this week, it was I had a lot of toss ups. I was thinking Tyler Hero definitely was in there, um,
Hmm.
but I got to go with Russell Wilson.
Yep.
Definitely so far. MVP season would be named the MVP. He kind of started last year like this as being the MVP of the league. Um, but I just gotta keep giving kudos to Russell Wilson because of just his leadership, his consistency. Um, at Seattle, he is definitely the reason why. They continue to be great, and probably definitely will win their division because of him. Played phenomenal against the New England Patriots. Um, Also, shout out to Cam. I also thought about mentioning Cam. He's
Yeah.
definitely proven that he's definitely coming back. I mean, his arm
Mhm.
looks great. Um, you know, what's funny is watching the New England receivers. He dots it in there. They don't get much yards after catch, but they put the ball right where he throws it. So
Yep.
that's always funny to watch when a New England. But he's been running with his legs, and maybe with the pieces that they had, with a good offensive line, the way that they've playing for Cam, um, has been good to see. But yeah, just Russell Wilson. I think he is always underrated. I know on our show I've always loved Russell Wilson, the way he plays the game. But overall sense, I think we always underplay just how valuable and just how great Russell Wilson is, and especially to a Seattle Seahawks organization where um, he consistently keeps them at a high level of play. Where
Yeah.
we've seen the struggles with the defense last year, and the defense kind of rebuilding itself with Jamal Adams playing great, a great acquisition from the New York Jets. But
Yeah.
overall, just Russell Wilson leading this team, and the way that he played against New England and the way he continues to play definitely was the best thing I saw this week.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Atlanta and Chargers are basically all I've got. One thing I would like to talk about before we get off is the injuries. That was definitely a bad. Um, I don't know if I've ever seen a NFL week end with that many injuries. The 49ers are decimated with injuries. I haven't heard anything else on Garoppolo, but Bosa being out for the season now, and that's crazy. Saquon for the Giants, he's out with a ACL now, and it's just like what I mean, why did we have that many injuries in one day? Like it just, I mean, was it the lack of preseason, the lack of off season workouts? Like, I just that's a really bad problem to have in the NFL, and it's I just can't figure out a reason for it. I guess.
I mean, I'll give you the reason. 2020. Yeah, so
Yep.
I think you can attribute it to a lot of things, but 2020, you just I attribute it to that. This whole
Yeah.
whole sports, everything about life is weird. So to see injuries like this, just going into it was expected. It's the MetLife Stadium. I mean, sure, there may be aspects to that, but we had seen other games being played on it, not see the
Mhm.
injuries that they saw. So I don't know, and then I don't know if you can exactly blame the field at MetLife for those. Um, but I do think I think the whole off season for players was weird, because it was difficult. I wouldn't. I think seeing some of the superstars is a little bit strange because they always have access to anything, but some of these
Yeah.
players that don't have that type of status, it was hard for them to find a gym that they could go to. In
Yeah.
some of this off season, I do think it makes a difference. When you suddenly just start playing. Where
Yeah.
you had a preseason before where you got some intensity, to your body for your body to maybe start getting used to it. But I mean, it sounds like to me that it's almost, the NFL and the players, I don't think wanted to see a preseason. I don't know. But it seems like the fans and players are like, well, we see the need for preseason, so let's bring
Yeah.
preseason back. At least, I've always been a fan of maybe 2 to 3 games of preseason. I don't see the need for four. But
Yeah.
I think having some sort of preseason is always valid, because I think it also prepares your body. It's because the hits are always going to be different in game. what you face in game is always going to be different than what you can replicate in practice. Um, but
Yeah.
it's just I just go back to, you have years like this where it seems like a lot of the superstars in the league are getting injured. And 2020 just seems to be one of those years,
Yeah.
where you see a lot of stars are hampered with knee problems and things like that. So, um, yeah, I do think off season, intensity does play, you know, into this a little bit. The conditioning factors and all that. So,
Yeah.
that would be, my only thoughts to that. So, um,
Okay.
but yeah, looking into to wrap up, very exciting schedule set up again for this weekend. The marquee game for this week will be Monday night with the Chiefs going against Baltimore. So it'll be Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson. And I'm
Yeah.
super excited for this matchup. I know as a Chiefs fan for you, it must be nerve wracking or just
Yeah.
going into Monday, but I'm extremely excited. I think this matchup, like I've always said, one of my favorite games that I've ever watched was that LA Chiefs game where LA eventually won. But this kind of
Hmm.
has that same feel, that same kind of build up to it, where the
Yeah.
teams are I feel very equal. And just could be a toss up either way. I don't think you'll see a Chiefs team that seemed a little sleepy through three
Yeah.
quarters of the game. I would love to see a shootout. That, to be honest with you, I know we love seeing some defense and stuff like that, but I want to see a shootout, man. I want to see Mahomes like throwing it deep to Tyreek a couple times, Lamar going out rushing for 40 yards here and there every once in a while. Like, I want
Yeah.
to see all that. Like, this and to be honest with you, I'm picking the Chiefs, but it's such a big toss up for me. Um, just because the defense for Baltimore has been playing really well. The rushing game for Baltimore, um, uh, with Dobbins and Mark Ingram have been playing well, on top of the threat of Lamar. So this is
Yeah.
these two teams, these defenses have a lot. You can't you can't leave one thing uncovered. With
No.
Hilaire as the running back, and Mahomes will take what he can get, but he can also beat you with Tyreek Hill.
Hmm.
This is a toss up for me. And so, what do I always do when there's a toss up, Jamie? What do I always do?
Go
What do
with
you,
your gut.
no, you pick the quarterback, remember?
Oh,
You
right,
pick
right,
the
right,
best
right, right.
quarterback, and the best quarterback is Patrick Mahomes. And so that is why I'm going with the Chiefs, because it's neck and neck. And who do you go with? I go with Patrick Mahomes. Any
Yeah.
thoughts?
I picked the Chiefs to lose Monday. I just have a feeling like the Chiefs always play the Ravens really well and play them really tough. We're 2-0 against them, but I just have a feeling, man, that we're gonna play twice this year, and the Ravens are gonna win one of them. So, and I think this is gonna be that one that they win. But I think it's gonna be a close game. It's gonna come down to the wire kind of thing, and I think the Ravens will just have the ball last, and they're gonna squeak out a win like that. But man, I'm just ready for some good football this weekend. Like
Yeah, we
this
got
is gonna be
football,
good.
football overload, and we got
Yes.
NBA overload. So a
Hmm.
lot of things going on, man. But yeah, Monday night game, I'm so pumped for it. like,
Yes.
uh,
Yep.
this is definitely the matchup we definitely have been waiting for.
Yeah.
So yeah, that will end our show today. Next week we'll be once again checking out what's happening around the leagues, seeing if the Heat can pull it off and be in the conference finals. Same thing with LA, but very awesome weekend ahead. Definitely at least get some recording, plan out your Saturday.
Yeah.
Definitely some great games to be watched. All right, everyone, have a wonderful rest of your week.